Hi, my name's Lee First, and today I'm doing a technical subject presentation. And the presentation I'm going to be doing today is on the DeVille Briss GTI Pro Light spray guns. Basically, what I'm going to be going through is the differences in guns, setups, workings, and finishes able to achieve, also maintenance and cleaning. Variations of the spray guns. You've got gravity fed, draw fed, or pressure fed. The images on the visual differences of the guns. You've obviously got one air pipe on the gravity fed and the input for the paint. You've got the two pipes on the pressure fed, which is the air pipe and the fluid. Come to the gravity fed gun. As I said on the earlier slide, you've got the one air pipe, which is just air. You've got the input for the paint, the adjusters, one for the air pressure, one for the fan pattern, and then you've got the adjuster needle. Basically, this gun you can adjust all your parameters on the gun, so what the sprayer prefers. It's lighter to use. You can adjust the needle travel, which gives you more or less paint than you want, and it provides a better finish. Also for the gravity fed, we come to the M3, which is the PPS pots. And this is just the system setup for the gravity fed. The image shows it when the complete setup is there. But then we come to the pots. You've got the actual pot itself, the inner liner, the lid, and then the screw cap with the adapter. And that's what it looks like when it's all set up. What happens with the gravity fed is the air will go in. It'll push air into the pot chamber, forcing the paint out, which gives you then the paint onto the panel. Then we come to the draw fed system, or as also known as the pressure fed. You've got the two pipe connectors, which is the air pipe and the fluid pipe, as said earlier. The user doesn't have to mix his own paint. All the parameters are preset. Obviously, with the needle, you've got no needle travel, only what's preset for you. It can be easy to use in tighter spaces because you've got no pot on the top. This next slide shows what the draw fed or pressure fed system looks like. You've got the pressure pot. It can also be used as an EcoP system in obviously larger factories, but this one's set up like this. It can also be called line fed, as mentioned, and can be easier and quicker to use due to the painter not having to mix his own paint. So it just comes straight through the system from the pot, and all the regulators are preset up. You can modify the pressure fed gun. Obviously, as said earlier, you've got the line feed. You can take that off and attach a fluid attachment, which gives you the pot. That alters obviously the paint mix. Then the user has got to mix his own paint, and the paint needle is going to have to be mixed by the user when you change to suction fed. Internal images of guns after the modifications. You've got the gravity fed gun, which is not modified. Obviously, one air connector, the valve assembly, all the air caps and needles should be the same to start with. On the pressure fed, you've got the fluid inlet, which you would then change to an inlet valve for the suction fed. As you can see from the images, all the internals are roughly the same, so nothing changes apart from you have no pot on these two on the top. We then come to the internal parts. All the internal parts of the gun will be the same. You'll have the needle guide, the springs, the seals, the trigger, and the back of the needle thread, and that's the attachment to put all the seals into. All the internal parts will not vary unless you change your needles. Unless you change the needles or the fluid tip, the parts won't vary. The springs and seals will all be the same as they come as a universal kit, but to change the needles and the fluid tips, you'll need a 14mm spanner, 10mm Allen key, a small flat bladed screwdriver and a 5mm hex tool. This slide shows the materials used in mixes. All the guns mentioned can be used for primer, which is also known as undercoat, base coat, which is known as colour, and clear coat, which is known as finisher. All the mixes for each would normally be a ratio of 4 to 1, sorry, i.e. 4 parts paint, 1 part additive. Maintenance and cleaning. As you can see from the slide, you've got the air cap, the fluid tip, the needle. The pictured parts will be removed before the cleaning process, and then these would be cleaned by hand, obviously with solvents. The gun body would then be placed in a gun wash machine after the trigger is pressed in, put in the gun wash machine, and that is automatically cleaned and then just blown off. The personal protective equipment you would use, as on the slide, would be glasses, safety glasses due to the solvent splashing of the eyes, a mask for the fumes of the solvent, and gloves to be used to protect your hands from the solvents. I hope you like my presentation, and I would like to invite any of your questions.
Oh yes. What pressures are the guns used to spray at?
The pressure fed gun would be used at 1.8 bar for the paint pressure, and the air pressure would either be 4.2 or 5.0 bar. And the gravity fed would be an air pressure of 1.6 to 2.1. That would be the differences between the two guns.
Also as well, which out of the two gun systems are more reliable?
Well, I prefer the gravity fed. That's what I prefer to use. There's less to go wrong. Obviously, if you've mixed your paint correctly, you get a better finish, and it's easy to use, it's lighter to use. Any more?
Yeah, are any parts of the guns interchangeable?
They are, yes. On both guns you've got the needles, fluid tips and air caps. You'll have different size needles. It all depends on what finish you want to achieve. You've got a 1.0 or 10, and then you would also need the same fluid tip. And you've got a 13 and a 13 fluid tip, but you also have two different sizes of air cap. You'd have a TE20 or a TE40, but I prefer the TE20. It's more direct and it gives you a better finish. So, any more questions? No? That's fine, thank you. Thanks, I hope you like my presentation.